I'm Ryan Boyles. I'm the state climatologist. I work here at NC State University. Typical day, usually come in and there are mountains of email. The email traffic has just become overwhelming. Um, 10 years ago, even, it was, 25, 30 emails a day. Now it's like 150. It's absolutely ridiculous. Most of that, is stuff that I don't necessarily need to respond to, but all the listservs, all the new weather stations that are coming up, we take note of that so we can add it to our database. All the other little news serves out there that are passing on information on other opportunities or climate questions that we need to respond to, things like that. And then usually I don't answer them all and I push some to the bottom, and then I go on to working with students or working on papers or doing some analysis or whatever that needs to be done. Some of that analysis is, for example, I've got coming up here, I've got to do my monthly climate report. How was the conditions over the past month, and how's that compared to previous periods for this time of year? How's the temperatures? What are the storm activity? How does that compare to long-term averages? Is it above normal, below normal? How far? How does it rank? Those kinds of things. Those types of things that are interesting for some of our clients, but also helps to engage people and keeping them aware of how climate varies from month to month, from season to season, year to year. Then usually on any given day there'll be a chance to sit down with some students and talk about their projects that they're working on, or do a review of a specific tool that we may be developing and go through and do troubleshooting, or just a general evaluation of a new tool that we may be working on for release for public or a specific funded project. So I'm faculty and have similar responsibilities that other faculty have, and that I have students that I work with, but I don't teach regularly, which is not typical for most faculty.
Yeah.
So unlike other faculty that have specific research projects, the Climate Office is a public service center, and so we are as much as anything here to be a resource for the state when they need weather and climate expertise, whether that means they call us on the phone or they send us an email, or it's a state agency that we're working with that specifically funds development of a climate resource, be it a piece of software or an analysis that they need to do their job better. And so a lot of what we do is extension and outreach to state agencies, to local governments, so that we can almost be their, if you will, government consultants when they need some improved use of climate science or climate information. We have terabytes of climate data at our fingertips. There's a lot of neat stuff we can do with that. So a lot of what we do is very applied. We use the climate sciences that we have, the climate information that we have, to work with other disciplines, be that water resource managers, agriculture, land resource managers, everyone from the PhD scientist who is incorporating climate into their research or their teaching to the guy with the bar bed on what the record snowfall is for Davidson County, North Carolina, and pretty much everything in between. What's also interesting is that our geographic scope is very limited. I know there are weather stations in Virginia. I know nothing about them. Similarly for all the surrounding states. Once it goes beyond North Carolina in terms of specific details and records at an individual location, I'm ignorant, and that's someone else's responsibility. But obviously we still have to study the broader climate patterns of the Southeast, so we have to be aware of INSO relationships and things like North Atlantic Oscillation and its broader impact across the Southeast. Whether or not we can predict it, it's still good to understand those things so that when these events come along, we can put it in sort of a longer-term climate perspective. So I have lots and lots of interests, and in that regard, this is a perfect job for me. I'm interested in climate science, but I'm also interested in all these other things that are out there. Woodworking to automotive to transportation planning to general policy, how government works, environmental sciences in general. I mean, it's kind of all over the place. Well, climate has an input on a lot of those different things. Some of them are very mundane. Some of them are pretty high level, really important stuff. And so what I really enjoy is going to professional meetings where usually there's other climate people there, but they're not the dominant people. We just recently went to a forestry meeting. and they had some basic knowledge about climate, but I got to learn so much more about their sensitivities to climate, and it's this constant learning of new areas, and I really enjoy that. So I kind of like being this jack of all trades and to be able to connect the dots from various disciplines and how they interact and relate with the climate science that we're trying to study as well. That's really enjoyable. That's probably what I enjoy most. A close second to that would be, it's kind of cheesy, but watching a student go through and make discoveries and remembering what that was like when I first said, "Oh wow, look at this great INSO signal," or this great relationship between radiation and temperature or something on climate timescales. Seeing them make that discovery and then take it to the next level, even beyond my expertise, is really kind of neat. Things I dislike. So with any large organization like a university, there's some bureaucracy, and there's some challenges in navigating that bureaucracy. And they have to do things like reports, which I don't really enjoy. I'm not very good at, but we do them because we have to. And they're fairly important, right? People actually sometimes read those reports, and that's how you make connections and justify the value of your program in some cases. But even those sort of bureaucratic things are relatively small negatives compared to all the other great stuff. And we're fortunate that we've got a great crew of people here that I get to work with, so I don't have to deal with a lot of the other personnel and personality issues that I think a lot of other people who have to do some management have to deal with. So the positives greatly outweigh the negatives. So applied climatology in particular is a fairly small niche. It's growing. I mean, the interests and the implications of climate change are really starting to help to drive some of that. But what we end up doing a lot of is still data management, data analysis. And so you have to have a good understanding of statistics and how you use statistics to analyze data, and you have to have a strong sense of programming. So we do a lot of software development, we do a lot of tool development to utilize all the data resources that we have, and visualization of that data, analysis of it using software. What we typically look for in an undergraduate student who wants to intern with us is, do they have a statistical training, and do they have more than just even basic programming. I mean, if you've taken a single course in Java or something, that's often not enough. If you've gone beyond that, if you applied it, built your own website, built your own tools, done some of your own analysis, that's what really helps set undergraduate and graduate students apart from their peers.